March 1568, a minority religious group demands change in the way that they could practice religion. This Protestant group, called the Huguenots, rebels against French Catholics wanting their own religious freedom. The Huguenots wanted to use Calvinism for its force in political decentralization. They believed Calvinism was a set of values that they could adhere to in order to aid them in their fight against Catholic domination. The Huguenots held the most important geographic areas and were well represented among important parts of society. For example, Calvinist convictions proved useful for aristocrats, and they could use this evidence to push for a law similar to that of the Peace of Augsburg. Calvinism justified political and religious resistance, and was useful in the Revolution. Queen Catherine of France, also known as the Queen Mother, was born into a very wealthy Italian family called the Medici family. Catherine quickly rose to political power and married King Henry II of France. The two had a son named Charles, but soon after King Henry II died. Charles was quickly thrust onto the seat of the throne, but was much too young to rule since he was still in his childhood.
Catherine de' Medici, the Queen Mother, became regent for Charles IX. Her main goal was to preserve and protect the monarchy and maintain power by whatever means necessary. This would lead to unfortunate events and bad decision-making.
One decision, for example, was the January Edict. Catherine de' Medici signed this edict, which granted Protestants freedom to worship publicly outside of town, but only privately within themselves. This aroused much anger in many Catholics, and they put their faith in the Duke of Guise. Many Protestants did not like this, however, and an altercation occurred, which led to the massacre of many Protestant congregations at Versailles in Champagne. Many historians see this as the true beginning point of the wars of religion. Screams of terror and pain echo throughout the city as many Huguenots are killed. This day was known as St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, and it was a major turning point in the wars of religion.
Catherine de' Medici was mainly blamed for the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre. In a sheer panic, Catherine did everything to keep the monarchy in power, including throwing away her own beliefs. This was a major point in the French religious wars that could not be contained.
In the thick of St. Bartholomew's Day, Henry of Navarre married into the royal family, and Coligny, the Protestant leader, was harmed by an assassin's bullet. According to Catherine de' Medici, Coligny was starting a coup against her. In the aftermath of St. Bartholomew's Day, around 20,000 Protestants were butchered over the 3 days of planned attack by the Catholics. St. Bartholomew's Day symbolizes the internal struggle of Protestants throughout the wars of religion, and a civil war was created. Henry III was known as a king with no religious affiliation. However, in 1588, on the Day of the Barricades, Henry III attempted to rout the Catholic League with a surprise attack. With the help of the French Huguenots in Paris, Henry was able to assassinate the Duke and the Cardinal of Guise, which were known as the Catholic League leaders at the time. Facing many threats from Catholic families and Catholic leaders in France, Henry III was forced to strike an alliance with his friend Henry of Navarre, a Protestant leader in France at the time. Henry was killed in the Day of the Barricades, however, and Henry of Navarre rose to the throne. Henry of Navarre, direct Spanish intervention, greatly strengthened his power and right to the throne in terms of what the French people thought. Many French people agreed with him and they believed in what he fought for. He was truly a man of the people. One of his most important ideas, and frankly the turning point in the French Wars of Religion, was his idea to initiate a policy of tolerant Catholicism. He was reported to have said that France is worth a mass, and this is truly the turning point in the war for France, because Henry decided to convert to Catholicism, abandoning his Protestant values. Since Henry of Navarre was now king, he was now called Henry IV. At the end of his reign, the wars of religion had just about come to an end, since Henry IV had decided to convert to Catholicism. The Edict of Nantes was one of the most important pieces of the wars of religion in France. It made the war somewhat longer and partially created a state within a state, but overall, religion was given to all.
The Edict of Nantes was seen as the complete conclusion to the religious wars of France. It was the only possible way to keep both warring factions complacent. It stated, and I quote, "We ordain there shall be no difference or distinction made in respect to the said religion, in receiving pupils to be instructed in universities, colleges and schools, nor in receiving the sick and poor into hospitals, retreats, and public charities. This document gave religious freedom to all.